Welcome back, everybody, to the Bar Talk podcast at the Relief and Resource Co. in Fenton, Michigan. I'm your host, John Foley. With me, as always, Courtney Booms.
Hello there.
Mark Miller.
Hello.
And we are coming to you with episode number 21, back on the Rum Train. The Rum Train Part 3. Now that we've done our kind of,
That was the train. Wow, you're really just going off.
Now that we've done 2 episodes on this, and we've covered, and it took us 2 episodes to cover rum in general. Now we get to do single islands and really talk about specific geographical rum styles. So today we, as a consensus, decided Jamaica because it's all of our favorite, or at least it's my favorite. And I talked really loud when we were talking about it. So we're doing Jamaica first, and just going to focus on all of the great things about Jamaican rum. And Jamaican rum has a distinctive style, which it very much is. Also, this is the time in the show which we'd like to thank iLogic Media, our production company. Thank you very much to Jonathan Cole and everybody who at iLogic who makes this podcast listenable and fun and accessible for all you guys. So please check out their other stuff. And moving along, jumping into Jamaica.
Well, we'll do a tiny recap of how sugar entered the Caribbean, if you don't mind.
Yeah, because this is going to be something that we're going to have to touch on a couple times. But sugar, massive
is sweet
product, massive in terms of a world change in terms of commerce. You are an idiot. And
that's the one note Mark has about sugar.
Let me give you some positive notes.
He didn't talk enough in the last podcast, so
I was going to be talking.
Sugar's good, but also it's problematic. Its role in history is extremely problematic in terms of colonization, slave labor, etc. So there's not going to be a way to talk about this product without talking about that.
At least a skosh, right?
Yeah.
So in the last episode that we covered, well, the first episode that we covered rum, we talked about rum history. So that would be, I think, episode 4 or 5. But rum is made from sugarcane, which was domesticated in New Guinea around 8000 BC. It was the first recorded cane spirit being made in India and East Asia around 500 BC. It gets taken westward into Europe through colonization usually, or invasion as well, which is what those problematic parts kind of come in. But through its history, wherever it went, humans followed sugar, basically.
Yeah.
Specifically,
where precisely is New Guinea?
New Guinea?
Yes.
In the island region of like Southeast Asia.
Okay, got it.
I think so. I hope I'm right. New Guinea, between Asia and Africa.
Sure.
Near Sri Lanka?
Near Sri Lanka? Other side of the coast and upward.
Oh, okay.
Right? I think so.
Oh, yeah.
Maps.
Right. Southeast. Got it.
Yeah. So specifically it'd be Dutch and Portuguese traders who bring that sugarcane into the Caribbean later on.
I need a globe. We need a globe.
We should get a globe in here. Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
I'm going to put one right.
I think I would look very regal with a globe right next to my face.
I think so. Or on your head.
If I were a globe.
Yes.
It's his next skull tattoo. Right.
Oh.
So specifically, it's those Dutch and Portuguese traders who bring sugarcane into the Caribbean around 1425. Generally, these grasses, like weeds, grow in hot and humid climates, and the islands are perfect for that. By 1552, the reports of the Caribbean Governor General note that the enslaved workers on the islands were drinking basically a variation of cachaça. And like we said, the workers, the slave labor of the islands, are typically those who kind of inspire and then eventually run the rum production later on. You might have your planters or plantation owners kind of are making all the money on it, but their workers, their laborers, their slave laborers are the ones who are making it.
Sound familiar, unfortunately?
Yeah, a little.
Extremely familiar?
A little extremely familiar, yeah. But we mentioned this before, and it's always due to be mentioned that, it comes, that rum becomes a strong form of currency, and that's why it's part of the triangle trade. And that's, again, where the slave labor kind of gets looped back in again. So the British influence on the Isles is the specific influence that Jamaican rum comes from, right? Because we talked about this last time. Britain owns Demerara and Jamaica and some of the other islands, but the 2 most popular producers are first Demerara. So that is also the island of Barbados would be another way to describe that. Barbados and Guyana. British invaders, if you like, colonizers, however you'd like to form it.
The colonistic invaders.
Invaders of Britain.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
They hit the island of Barbados in 1627. They first struggle with their initial crops, but those earlier Dutch traders come in and they help them out with that. It only takes about 2 decades before the island is producing rum on the large scale. Eventually, the island gets overworked, and so they spread out. And that is where St. Kitts, Nevis, Montserrat, Antigua, all those other places come in. And then the absolute most popularly producing island is Jamaica. Specifically, it's in 1655 when the Royal Navy attacks and conquers what was the Spanish settlement. And because Jamaica has an average temperature of about 73 to 78 degrees Fahrenheit, an annual rainfall of over 60 inches, and a mountainous range that keeps wind from eroding a lot of the inner farmland, with fresh rainwaters that kind of come inward as well, Jamaica becomes that popular and insanely great producer.
Jamaican
and with sugar. I mean, they might take a little while to figure out how they can grow everything.
Yeah.
But once that happens, Britain's off to the races because they have a superior navy, they have production capital, they have means to enslave and command massive labor.
Yeah.
And they can distribute anything that they make.
Yeah.
Britain's thing, right, was their navy was kind of the
it
best
was like
in
the
the world.
spearhead
at this point, they're on their way to becoming the richest country in the world.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is this when really around the time where Spain and Portugal fade and Britain starts advancing globally?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so along with France and the Dutch, I mean they can put their product anywhere they want.
Yeah.
And make you buy it.
Yeah. And British colonists, they immediately build Port Royal in Jamaica, which is one of the reasons, too, why it becomes such a hub of activity. It grows rapidly due to the sugar production, but it's also a hub, for merchants, privateers, and even pirates.
Yeah. So a new community, rawly formed, with money all around it, is an amazing opportunity for anybody who wants to run in and exploit whatever they want or take advantage of whatever they want to make money off of all of it. Like,
during Port Royal's highest success, English clergymen used to call it the Sodom of the New World because the government was so lax there.
That's rocking.
So
like all
so
this
the
violent behavior and stuff. It actually means that they have like decades of drunken splendor, and rum is the it's the powerhouse.
Someday Michigan will be the Gomorrah of the North. But this is the American West, right?
Yeah.
This is the same deal.
Yeah, that idea, but like islandy.
Yeah, but you've got indigenous people overrun and exploited.
Yeah.
A massive amount of natural resources, a massive amount of immigration.
Yeah.
And people coming in from all over the place. Yeah. And then another wave of people saying, well, I'm going to make money off of whatever I can in this situation.
Yeah. Wow, it's almost like some American whiskey sounds very similar.
But this is awesome because this is, I mean, story-wise, there's a lot going on.
Yeah. And then now
a lot of it is not awesome. Let's clarify.
No,
but
there's plenty of it that's not.
But as far as like a teeming hub for activity, it is awesome in terms of its scale for such a small place and how drastically it changes.
It does it twice. So once it's like this kind of Sodom and Gomorrah place, this hub of pirates, like lots of things going on, kind of crazy. There's an earthquake in Jamaica, and the entire city actually just falls into the ground into the water. Into the sea. And so when they rebuild
around the water, the sea,
all of it is gone.
There's some like
it just slides down.
There's like the one good guy who was hanging out. The one like
the English
British clergyman. He's like, see, God's taking what back is his after you exploit. I don't know why his Cockney accent. It's the only British accent I can use. But he's like, see what happens. And meanwhile, everybody else is like, shut up. We gotta figure out how to make more rum. We gotta figure out, get the rum back.
And then literally,
we just need the rum. Fuck everything else. Give us the rum.
Then the city sinks, and then they rebuild, and there's a little more structure to it after that.
Right.
I've seen this in the classic Disney film
Pompeii.
Is that a Disney production?
I was going for Pirates of the Caribbean, but
I never saw Pompeii. I just know that Jon Snow is in it.
Is that a Disney film?
No.
Okay.
Oh yeah. I think that's right.
Did you ever watch that movie with him where he's playing like a 30-day game of tennis or some shit? You know what I'm talking about?
I don't like tennis.
I like tennis, but
sorry,
I'm not good
everyone who likes tennis.
I have no idea.
Moving on.
All right.
Sounds like a really bad movie.
So we talk a little bit about like rum distillation techniques and types of rum produced on Jamaica. We know that sugarcane got there, how it got there, and who was making it specifically in Jamaica. So British colonists and then anyone else on the island who either they would have brought or who came there naturally. In 1937, islands of Jamaica and Barbados, they define rum as, quote, the spirit obtained only by alcoholic fermentation and distillation of the molasses, syrups, or cane sugar of sugar cane juice Production must be carried out in such a way that the product has an aroma and flavor derived from the natural volatile elements. In a previous episode, we called them congeners, contained in the above materials or formed during the fermentation or distillation process of said materials, and it must be produced on the island itself.
And
Legal definition by the islands.
the sugar source will provide a major impact into taste.
Absolutely.
Sugar source and distillation method. That's what we're talking about when we're talking about the single island rums and the rums that come from these different kinds of regions. So when you're trying to examine or figure out why you like certain kinds of rum, remember that it comes from colonization and distillation method introduced by colonizing country, plus what type of sugarcane that you are going to use to make sugarcane source.
Because again, it's reiterated, we've said it before, but sugarcane is a grass. And so much like anything else, if you believe in terroir, you know the fact that certain elements of the soils, the natural resources are imbued into the grass, then you're going to get that in a flavor, and it's going to differentiate from this island or that island or everything else. So
if you believe in the rum fairy children, you'll say your prayers every night. Maybe a dram will be delivered to your bedside.
Every time you lose a tooth,
Every time you lose a
you
tooth.
don't get a quarter, you just get a
is
pour
that
of
why
rum.
that's
Smash it and burn it.
Yeah,
And the rum fairy will visit you.
but generally speaking, I mean, rum is also, it's a byproduct of sugar refining, which is again why it follows sugar. and why
Secondary
people
product,
follow
yeah,
sugar.
which makes
secondary
which
product.
gives it a massive amount of opportunity in terms of profitability.
Right,
Because it's
exactly.
a secondary
Yeah,
product.
It's the same reason why grain alcohol, why excess grain becomes grain alcohol. It's how you preserve that grain from going off.
And it's bonus.
Yeah. A wonderful, beautiful bonus it is. Yeah. So
If you're the person in charge of making it.
Yeah.
If you're the person who owns the process, not necessarily if you're
right.
Yeah.
Right. And then Jamaican rum is it specifically highlights molasses versus cachaça, say that does the fresh cane juice, etc. And molasses has 81 aromatic compounds.
For those who don't know, cachaça is the official rum style of Brazil.
Delicious.
Yes.
Yeah, but molasses has 81 aromatic compounds. It's more than refined sugar. It's more than even the byproducts of refined sugar. So it's really, really, really imbuing a ton of added flavor to the fermentation pot. And we've mentioned it before too. It comes off as often things like overripe banana, mango, passion fruit, fruitiness in general, and then often a funk.
That funkiness.
Yeah.
Sometimes that funk can be almost like a decaying fruit scent, which is not unpleasant.
Like
to
rotting
some
fruit
people.
corpse.
Or it can be drying, grassy, or spicy as well.
That's an interesting thing, though. Like Jamaican rum probably carries with it more obvious
For sure.
fruit notes and fruit aromas, yet isn't overtly sweet
No, yeah.
most of the time.
But in like if you were to do a
Right.
blind tasting of like 5 different islands rums and there was a Jamaican rum,
You
in
should be
there,
able to
you
pick it
can
out right
pick it
away.
out
Yeah.
immediately. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Jamaican rum because it is so distinct and because it does carry with it this absolute flavor and aroma that's very distinctive to place.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think it's a really good example, and you see this when you're teaching people about wine too, a really great opportunity to divorce fruit from sugar.
Yeah.
In terms of flavor.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like
they're not
you can
always
taste fruit but not
mutually
taste
exclusive.
sugar.
Right.
Yeah.
And I have to imagine, like, if you were to go down to Jamaica, it probably smells like 2 things. The first one, weed, obviously. Secondly, probably Jamaican rum.
Prejudice. You might be right though. Anyway,
What? I hear they have good weed down there. I don't know.
Bob Marley is definitely at least one heavy proponent of it. Yeah. Was. Sorry.
Was.
R.I.P. Bob Marley.
Too soon?
Too soon.
Too soon.
All right. So the other thing that really influences, by the way, Jamaican rum is dunder, which we discussed briefly too. But as a recap, dunder is the scummy, excess, kind of sugary muck that forms on pot
Yeah,
stills
muck and
during the
dunder.
distillation process and even in the refining of sugar.
Is this named after the
earlier on.
Scranton Dunders?
Dunder
All I know
Mifflin,
is that we
the
were
people-
supposed to have a
was it
band
people-
called something
I
like
can't remember.
Johnny
It's like the
Dunderettes.
people, paper, something,
Oh,
something
yeah,
or other. That
something,
song.
paper, something company, yeah.
I don't know. You guys are talking about.
The Office.
Oh yeah, I didn't watch that show because I always thought Michael Scott was a little too like he gave me a little anxiety watching him as a character.
Right.
Anyway,
Dunders.
dunder is the sugar scum like molasses I kind of described before. So it has a super unique flavor when combined with yeast. It also produces a high acidity. The acids themselves are often what create the fruity esters that I was talking about. But in the balance of the rum, you have to really have a magical formula of yeast acids that bond with the alcohol molecule to make it like a beautiful fruity flavor instead of like an off-putting.
A perfect
fruity
rum
flavor.
soup.
Oh
Yeah.
yes, a melange of rum flavors.
Melange.
Yes.
And esters, remember, are flavor components or influencers on other alcoholic beverages too, like Belgian beer, for instance, or ale in general.
Yes.
Mhm.
You will taste esters at the warmer fermentation ales, like English ale,
Which is why they're good at like room temperature or
Yeah.
just barely
Yeah.
room temperature, also
Or
called cask
like
temperature.
Belgian
but-
wits too. You really
Right.
good in wit beers as
Yeah.
well.
Mm-hmm.
That nice banana.
Get lots of tangerine.
Yeah.
And then
Spring is almost here. It's pretty much
Yeah,
here.
it
So
is.
that's those types of beers are what I want right now.
yeah.
They're upon
It's
us.
gonna be Oberon soon. But Jamaican rum is also a typically, excuse me, is a triple distilled product or a blended distilled product of pot still and triple still.
Column
Still,
yeah,
excuse
which-
me.
well,
Thank you.
Just to bring it back to things that we mentioned before.
Yeah.
On other shows.
And I mean, besides that, it's mostly what I've covered for what we've had before. The hogo is the other term that we use for that funky rum scent. As a reminder, for
Which
that.
I
So-
was not aware of until I read the show notes you made for us, Booms. I've never heard the term hogo,
I've not.
hogo.
but
Yeah.
You learn something new
do
every
I have
day,
a
you know?
direct translation? No,
You
it's
go.
just the funky
She go.
smell.
Hogo.
oh, hogo, hogo, get out of here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a new.
So
The kids are all gonna be saying it now.
Nobody's gonna say that.
Hogo.
All right.
I don't have that much more to go on as far as the recapping goes. One thing that I do know is that Worthy Park and Hampton Estate are the only two distilleries that do exclusively pot still rum.
Worthy Park and Hampton Estate.
Mm-hmm. Hampton Estate,
Hamilton.
Worthy Park.
Where does Hamilton come from? Hamilton's
Worthy-
pot. So that's Worthy,
Worthy
Park
Park,
product. Yeah.
yeah.
Hamilton stuff is affordable and pretty good,
Yeah.
but it's weird and dark and funky. We don't actually have Hamilton on the menu right now. We've had it before, but
yeah.
it's another one that's worth seeking out. But we've covered a number of really great Jamaican brands, and some of these are rums that are sourced
Mhm.
and then refinished under the sourcing company's labels. We'll get into a couple of those, and then other ones are direct from Jamaica labels
Right.
and producers. So
Which means it's time to taste.
yeah, okay. But remember, if you're doing classic cocktails, if you're doing things like zombies and mai tais and any of those, because if you're working on making tiki cocktails at home, which is a fun and messy and truly drunken endeavor to get into. Like,
Yeah,
you're
it
gonna have
is.
sticky stuff all over your counter and crushed ice and like fruit gore and all that stuff.
Your pets
trying
will
to
be
get
covered
it right.
in syrup.
Yeah, which is really cool and fun. And it's
Yeah.
summertime almost.
Yeah.
You're going to do all that. But you're going to come across all these old recipes that have split bases because more rum cocktails have split bases than do primary bases. And what I mean by that is if I'm going to make a Manhattan, I'm putting like one rye or one bourbon into it. But if I'm making a Mai Tai or a zombie, I'm putting 2 or 3 rums into it. And the reason you're splitting your base in those cocktails is for balance. And you want to balance things like super heavier, sweeter rums like Demerara rums with
Grassy,
earthier,
funky,
funkier flavors. Yeah.
Spicy
So
Jamaican rum.
say for a Mai Tai, if you've come across a recipe that uses 1.5 ounces of one rum and 3/4 of an ounce of the other, if you like things that are sweeter, use a richer, sweeter rum in the majority and use Jamaican in the minority. But if you're like me, who really likes like funkier, leaner rums, use more Jamaican and then use something like El Dorado or Lemon Heart or Plantation Dark as the secondary rum and just add a little bit of sweetness.
It's like a 1.5, 3/4 situation, but you're flip flopping it, or
Because that's the beauty
2-1
of tiki
or whatever
cocktails
the
is you
tiki
can really
cocktail
build them
might
to
be,
taste and see what your group likes or what you like.
you
Yeah.
personally like.
Yeah. Or Jamaican rums work well as floats or as little
Yeah.
influencers too. I think a Jamaican rum makes one of the most palatable styles of daiquiri when you're just using lime and sugar and Jamaican
Mhm.
rum because it's a little bit lighter bodied. It doesn't have the viscosity that some of the heavier rums do.
It's a
So
nice
you really
summer
feel like
drink.
you
Yeah.
can drink. Yeah, you can drink more of them.
And it's fun too, like when I'll make like our Saturday zombies after the shift, and I usually pick that cocktail because there's so many variations based on the rum that you use in it. you
Right.
know?
And it doesn't
So
matter.
it tastes different every time,
Yeah.
which I think is awesome.
Yeah. And that formula is so complex that if you stick to the proportions and get those right, if you're switching out rums, all you're doing is just sliding it up and down a scale. in
Right,
terms of
yeah,
how you
yeah,
want it to
Exactly. Ooh,
taste.
that's
Yeah.
a good way. Because like some days maybe I want my chili to be spicier, so I add like an extra pepper.
Right. But
or
it's
two
not,
in there,
don't ever do
whatever it
chili
is.
with no beans though, because people do that.
That's fucking
and
insanity.
that's meat sauce, guys.
Yeah, it's not
Okay.
chili.
Unless
It's
you're
not chili.
allergic to beans.
Huh?
Unless you're allergic to beans, then please don't do chili with beans. You're gonna die.
Yeah, but you're not eating chili. Okay. And it's like,
Is there? I guess you can be allergic to beans because it's the proteins, really. But yeah, I don't know. I've never met anyone who's allergic to
Don't
beans.
doubt it, Mark.
But they're probably out there.
I'm sorry
We've
if you're
gone on
allergic
a
to
tangent,
beans.
y'all.
I'm sorry if you're allergic to beans, but I'm sorry you can't call it chili. It's another
Nope.
different kind of thing, and I'm sorry that you can't experience that. But don't. I mean,
It's just
your
a-
experience is different.
And
than
don't
Tomato
ever
stew.
put carrots in chili. You know who you
no,
are.
it wasn't
You
the
know who
carrots.
you
I
are.
will. I'll allow the carrots.
It
It's
was
the
sweet potatoes.
Sweet potatoes.
Oh yes,
in the
that's
chili.
What it
It's
was.
like-
the sweet potatoes.
I like sweet
Yeah.
potatoes in a vegan chili. That I will give it to them.
Yeah, well, okay, let's blur the lines of chili even more. Anyway, just kidding. I respect vegan culture, but sweet potatoes in chili, it's vegetable soup, guys. All right, so
It's just
we're gonna taste some
fucking
rum.
minestrone.
Italian wedding with no noodles.
Yes,
All right,
exactly.
so we've got 5 rums, and we're not going to start with the white rum because we'll get into why you don't start with that rum later. I think we just start with the classic label
Yeah, this
that a
is
lot of people
combination-
associate with Jamaican rum.
Yeah, Appleton Estate.
Appleton Estate. Yeah.
Appleton.
It's beautiful. It's wonderful. I love it so much.
Yep, a number of different age statements and styles. We've chosen the 12-year, which I think is a
Beautiful.
good one for your home bar because you're still not spending a ton of money on it. You're lower than $40 a bottle,
Oh yes,
and
boobs.
you can still do it as a rum for a cocktail, but it's really nice to sip on its own as well. So there's a number of reasons why this is a good rum to have at home, depending on how you want to use it.
Mhm. All right, do you want to hear a little bit about the Appleton
Sorry.
Estate, the brand, the company, etc.?
Owned now by Campari.
Campari
Yes.
Group does indeed own it. This one that we're sipping on today, the 12-year, is 43% ABV, so alcohol by volume is what that stands for. If you prefer proof, you just double that up, so that is an 86 proof rum. Appleton began production
Which
early.
for rum is on the lower scale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Appleton began production early. Excuse me. They are listed as the earliest production. Like some things that we've heard in the past, it might just be that they're the earliest licensed production. So that's 1749 in the beautiful, I believe it's pronounced Nassau Valley.
Yeah.
Nassau Valley in
Nassau,
Jamaica.
Nassau.
The location is a karst, and a karst is a formation of land that's basically cone-like limestone. So it's the mountains themselves. They angle in like this, and then you just swoop it all the way in. So the valley is really small, and the mountains are like huge and ranging. The cone is really the shape.
So
of
probably very pure water as well with all the limestone.
Insanely
Yeah.
pure water. Yeah, it's has caves, underground fresh water sources. The valley's terrain naturally filters out the rainwater, producing streams of super clear, very picturesque liquid. They say it gives extraordinary flavor, of course. So they're growing the sugarcane in said valley, and their unique location means that it's heavily focused on terroir. The company themselves are heavily focused on terroir. Very
Over
focused.
170 years of production.
Yeah, that's insane, right?
Yeah.
No, I just lied. 270. Excuse me. I can't do
Oh.
math. 17.
Yeah,
17
you got it.
1700s.
Quick
Yeah.
math, quick For the 12-year rare blend is what they call it. It's with greatly controlled, balanced elements for depth, pungency. It's got a funky nose, rich, big, soft fruit, notes of cocoa. The body weight is exactly what you'd expect from a pot stilled rum. So you've got a nice heavy weight to it.
Oh yeah.
Man, this is great rum. So there is that undeniable Jamaican funkiness to it, but the mid palate of this is just wrapped in richness and sugar. It's super, super, super balanced. The finish lingers, but there's nothing harsh about it at all.
It's like brown sugar without having any of the syrupiness.
Yep.
Yeah.
is what
But
I get.
that sugar sweetness just like envelops your tongue
Yep.
as soon
Right.
as you taste it.
This is a perfectly balanced product.
Yeah. And then like a nice little drying spice in the
The
very
good thing about
back end.
Campari owning it is that you're definitely going to be able to find it all over,
Readily.
provided
Yeah.
there's not supply chain issues, because Campari is a massive international brand and they put big money behind their products. And we know the type of support that they give bars and the type of attention that they put towards the craft cocktail industry. So Appleton is going to be there when you go out to a reputable bar.
One of the cool things about Appleton that I noticed in my research is the insignia. So the
Oh
insignia
yeah. Talk
on
about it.
Appleton, it's really small on the rare cask bottle, but you usually see it right above the Appleton Estate part of the label. The signature, the Jamaican signature that we use for mixing cocktails, the green label one, you might call it, that one has a bigger insignia, but it's a combination of 5 iconic Jamaican emblems. At the top, you find the blue maho, which is in the national tree of
Yes,
Jamaica.
beautiful.
It looks like a kind of floral bloom, somewhat palmy. There are two birds flanking the middle of the insignia. Those are Dr. birds, which is the state bird or the national bird, excuse me.
And
of
we'll come
Jamaica.
up again in a couple minutes.
In a
we'll
minute.
put- we'll put a bird on
it. Looks a little hummingbird-like.
Yeah.
See, the center is a combination of the buds of ackee, a vibrant and subtly sweet fruit, and then the Jamaican flag's cross is up right above that as well. So unlike the cross of the flag of England, it's more like the cross of the flag of Scotland. So on its bias.
And if you can find these items and bring them to a certain cave at a certain point in the day at sunset, the spirit world will open in front of you.
I like my nerdy fun facts.
I think
Make
it's
fun
really
of me.
great. No,
All right,
I'm
cool.
surprised in your facts
He's
that you
just
didn't.
telling you what you
Listen,
can do.
I did a little bit more research on some darker corners of the web, and there's some
Black
magic
magic.
associated with these things in a
That's-
certain cave.
Yeah.
And you could get there also by drinking a lot of this rum, and then you can also see what that cave. will
Oh,
show
you'll get somewhere by drinking a lot of
Yeah.
this rum, that's for sure.
John's
the
like
last-
Willow from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yes. If I were a Buffy character, I'd be Willow.
All right, the last insignia, just because I haven't mentioned it yet, is the lignum vitae, or the wood of life. So it's the tree made with that. Uses powerful medicinal properties, and all of this Appleton is made at the New Yarmouth Estate. And their master blender, Joy Spence, was the first female blender of rum in 1997, and she still produces their rum now and does insanely wild and amazing things.
Yeah.
I would look up her.
Yep.
if
And
you
we've
had the
got
chance.
white unaged rum from them. We've got non-aged statement, like blended dark rum, which is their basic cocktail rum. We've got 8-year, 12-year, 15, 21-year age statements that I've seen across the bar over the last couple of years. Everything is good.
Okay.
Every single
Yeah.
one.
We just got
every
that
time.
15 in last week or 2 weeks ago. It's great.
Yeah.
It's great. So we spend a lot of time on Appleton. We spend a lot of time on Appleton in our cocktails. We spend a lot of time pouring Appleton and talking about it because its versatility and balance is so good.
Oh yeah.
That it is, I think, one of the 2 or 3 labels of rum that you should probably buy right away if you're starting to stock your bar. And like, we're not famous
Yeah.
or a big deal enough for Appleton to pay us a lick to say this. We just really like Appleton.
But if you want to, Appleton.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Currently
we'll,
not paid promotion.
yeah. We don't get
Not
paid
a
anything
sponsor.
for this.
Feel
So
free to look for it.
we just are talking about brands that we like because we work with them.
Yeah, I would say now thinking about it, Appleton is probably the rum we pour the most in this bar, other than maybe like Lemon Heart or something. But
Probably.
yeah,
I'd say Demerara and Spanish are kind of, par and par, but I'd say Appleton is above them.
Well, it depends on who you're making it for, right? Or what
It's very
you're
true.
It is
making.
guest
Because
specific, and
with Jamaican rum, you have to kind of pull your punch sometimes.
yeah,
But
Mhm.
I mean, if I've got a mojito drinker and they've never had a Queen's Park Swizzle, I'm pulling a bottle of
Oh
Appleton
my
and making them right
God.
for
away.
sure.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
the
Yeah.
Queen's Park Swizzle.
Swizzle me timbers.
So delicious.
Mhm.
It's basically just a daiquiri with mint, but swizzled.
Yeah, or dark rum mojito with no bubbles
Okay.
Yeah.
and bitters.
6 of 1,
I like to think of my new cocktail as not an old fashioned riff, but more of like a reframed
Sure.
old fashioned,
Yeah.
where I've taken none of the elements of the drink, but I'm adopting the spirit
Yeah, yeah. It's the vibe
of
the
my
cocktail.
mood
Yeah,
when I make
yeah,
them. I
yeah,
look forward to
yeah.
your book. Thank you for your TED Talk.
And then at the end, I smoke it.
Smoke it, and I garnish the shit out of it.
Cherries, oranges, mint,
Mhm.
butts.
People do love the garnish, though.
Egg shell,
Yeah.
egg yolk, egg white,
Yeah.
rotten egg.
I think you've gone a step too far.
Yes.
Let's talk about Dr. Bird.
Okay,
Let's talk about it.
All right, so Dr.
which
Bird.
this is cool because it's got a local association.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
a local association. We just talked about Dr. Bird as in the bird, the national bird of Jamaica. But this is made in jolly old Michigan. It's made in Corktown.
Do we say made or finished?
It's
I should say
finished.
finished.
Because
You're
they do
right.
source distillate.
Yeah.
It
It is
is
finished.
purchased by the Two James Distillery
That's right.
and then finished in Muscatel
Yes.
barrels, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So it takes
Fortified-
6-year
or
or
mus-
older
or
rum
fortified
from
wine.
Worthy Park and finishes it in Muscatel sherry casks.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, this local name has committed themselves to producing high quality and environmentally conscious spirits. Excuse my weird accent there. But since sugarcane is not readily available as a crop in Michigan, most
We
sugar
gotta source
here
it.
is from beets. They have to source it from Worthy Park. It's a Jamaican style of rum created with high ester, this is a quote from them, as a high ester bomb of incredible length and complexity.
Yeah.
Their words, but I would agree with it. I get strong flavors of pineapple, mango, passion fruit, coconut, and butterscotch before leading into a very heady and hot, long-lasting funk.
Right. And when this came out 4 or 5 years ago, It's like all of a sudden every craft
Super
cocktail bar who liked it
butterscotch.
had some sort of cocktail on their menu with the word funk in it.
Yeah.
Because
We
this rum
have the funk.
is, it's super, super strange. The high esters, the high acidic esters, and just the natural way that Jamaican rum tastes, along with this aging in this particular type of sherry cask,
The
has
muscatel, yeah.
created a rum that is almost undeniable aromatically in any kind of cocktail. You know when Dr. Bird has been placed
It's
in something.
almost as easily identifiable as, to me, Smith and Cross is the same thing. If you put a
Yep.
little too much in there, that's the only thing I taste.
Yep.
But when you even put a little bit in there, I'm
Holy
like, there's Smith and Cross
Yeah.
in this.
That nose is much more aggressive than the Appleton is.
Yes, it
That's
is.
for sure.
Yes, it is.
So, and well, this is 100 proof too.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah,
What'd
this
you
is
say
100
Yeah,
Appleton's at
50
80 something?
86.
86.
Yeah,
Mhm.
So it
much
makes
different.
sense.
Yeah.
So,
And lighter.
and much lighter.
Mhm.
Much, well, because the sherry
In
cask
color.
finish. Yeah, exactly. And remember, there's a lot of different ways to make bottled spirit. Sourcing your distillate is not a bad thing. You then have the responsibility, however, in terms of how you age it, how you blend it, what you do with it, to still put out a drinkable product.
Because sourcing is a really big argument, mostly with like bourbon and
Yeah.
rye heads and stuff like that. And sometimes even Scotch. Like there are people who try to argue to me that Compass Box is not good because they're not sourcing their own.
Well, they're
materials.
wrong, first of all.
They're wrong. Yeah.
In for a long discussion. Anyway, yeah. But when it comes to Dr. Bird too, they describe it right in the little kind of snippet that I was researching. They
Side
just
note,
wanna
that's
know-
an episode that we should do at some point.
MGP
is
versus,
just-
we could just do MGP versus
Sourcing.
in-house
Well,
distillate. Yeah.
I was thinking just do all Compass Box.
Oh, well.
Like, talk
yeah.
about Compass Box.
Just an
Talk about
excuse to
We
drink
just
Compass
thought of
Box.
3
Yeah.
podcasts in
No
one time.
problem.
Yeah.
No problem.
It's not expensive or anything.
I'll just be in the corner in that episode just saying it's good
It's good.
every time that somebody references anything to deal with their
Drinking
product.
this Dr. Bird, it makes me want to taste muscatel by itself because I never have,
It's good.
and I want to see how it impacts the flavor. I would love to try like the base rum
Yeah.
of this before the muscatel
Worthy
aging
Park.
and
The base
muscatel.
distillate, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because those
Comparison.
things come together to create this, and this
Yeah.
is very, very distinct. And it's so strange because you get so much fruit and so much like banana peel and tropical fruit, and like you said, I agree with cocoa.
Pineapple for
Banana
sure.
Foster.
Yeah,
Smell that and don't tell me you don't smell bananas Foster.
Don't tell me what to tell you. I don't smell.
I smell the impatience that I have for service staff making banana foster at my table. Get on with it. Put the fire out.
Oh, dude. Y'all want to hear a fun fact about Two James?
Fun fact.
Fun fact.
Fun fact.
Two James was the first licensed distillery in Detroit post-prohibition.
I knew that one.
Wow.
They told me on the tour.
Oh,
Oh, how is that tour?
Well,
I've
I
never
did it
been.
with the Bartenders Guild, and we were enthusiastic and a little hopped up before we went on the tour, so it was
So
great.
real good.
Yeah, it was
then.
great. And then we hung
They're-
out in the bar afterwards.
Nice.
they're not that it's related to Jamaican rum, but their new spot, Super Guile, is really, really cool. I
What's
really
it called?
enjoyed it.
Super Guile. Yeah, so Super Guile is it's Two James.
Yeah.
And
It's like right across the street. Well, kitty corner.
it is it's like a very Hungarian, Eastern European, like Balkan food.
Turkish, Hungarian,
influence.
German.
We actually had
marriage.
one of their bartenders in the other week. He was a super nice
Oh,
guy.
He
We
sat
talked
right on
about
that
it for
corner
quite a while. No, he sat down here.
Oh,
Sat down by this.
okay.
by
I thought
the-
I
by the service
recognized
area.
him, but I never talked to you about
He was
it,
super
but
nice. Yeah.
So what is like Turkish food? Is it a lot of like sausages or
It's like spice heavy, like harissa
Mhm.
spices, that
Yep.
kind of
Okay,
idea.
alright.
And then, cooked stewed meats or kebab style meats and stuff like that all together
Okay.
too. Like they have their doners are basically a marriage between a German doner and a Turkish
Yep.
style. Yeah.
All right.
Good food.
Skewered
Sounds
meat.
delicious.
Yeah.
All right. So Dr. Bird, that was great.
Very specific. Very, very cool. This is a rum that not everybody will like. It is hard to get
That's
your
true.
head around how completely alien it can taste to your palate. But honestly, if you have patience with it and you're willing to put it in as a contributing rum, not the base rum necessarily, but a contributing rum in a cocktail, you'll be
fun.
rewarded with depth in
Yeah.
that drink that like very few other rums
And
can
literally
touch.
like every sip I had from that tasted different. I was getting different things from
Oh
it.
yeah.
Super like complex and
Yeah, it was great.
real good stuff.
Where's our time at, Mark? Do we have time for 3 more rums?
We do. We're at 37 minutes.
How
but
fun.
Like
Not bad.
3 minutes of this beforehand was just us fucking around.
You know what? That's gold. Okay.
It is, yeah.
That's mixtape gold.
Jonathan Cole uses those.
I know he
so-
does. All right. So the next one is from Plantation. And Plantation is a little bit bigger of a story. Let's just tell people what Plantation is in general from Maison Ferrand, because we've got a There's a bigger
Yeah.
scope to this company.
So, I mean, generally speaking, Plantation is a pretty well-known rum brand, especially for bartenders and rum enthusiasts. It's headed by Alexandra Gabriel, if I'm saying that correctly.
Yeah.
I'm definitely throwing some airs onto that, but it's under the Maison Front house. So
It's the whole prosciutto. Where's Chase at?
I know.
Sorry, Alex.
God bless him.
So, being based in France, a good deal of their aging and secondary cask finishing is in cognac barrels. Jamaica, but it's spelled on the bottle quite differently. Is exclusively Jamaican rum, although a good deal of plantation rum is blended between a few islands.
Trinidad
usually.
is a big player.
Yeah, Trinidad, Peru, and Barbados are huge
Barbados.
players.
Yep.
It's called
Barbados.
Jamaica, but spelling is Xaymaca. It comes from the old Arawak term for Jamaica, and the Arawaks would have been the first inhabitants of the island of Jamaica.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ewoks, not Ewoks. Ewoks never went to Jamaica and have no term for it.
No.
Oh, they wouldn't be able to handle it there. They're way too fuzzy.
No.
Yes. Yeah.
They would die
One
of
would imagine they
heat
don't
exhaustion.
sweat, so they would
No.
probably be in bad shape.
No.
Yeah.
They actually sweat out of their eyes. That's why
Oh,
they're so
not
dark and
those are not
lifeless.
tears. It's sweat coming out of their eyes. Anyway, the
The
rum
what, the
inside. The rum in this.
You got it. Can we just start? The rest of the episode is us just making Star Wars noises.
Yeah.
But Plantation Jamaica is definitely drier. You can totally taste the cognac barrel influence. Pineapple and overripe banana again are there, which is constant in Jamaican rums. I tasted some guava and marzipan the last time I had this, and then it's made from a blend of Long Pond and Clarendon pot still rums. The oldest rum in that bottle is 17 years, but there is younger rum blended in there as well. All of their blend notes are in the very back. It's similar to the way that Compass Box does it too.
They're getting more transparent every year.
Yeah,
so this
they're
is an
getting
older
super
bottling. So
yeah.
the last year had even more.
Let's
Right.
I remember
see
when we
what
first
it
when we first got this
is.
rum, we were sitting down to a lunch of guava and marzipan, and you and I tasted this
said,
and kind of read through it.
Whoa, dude, exactly like that.
I know, I love it when you bring that in. Yeah, it's great. But I mean, in the last few releases, we've seen a better
Yeah.
breakdown in terms of how they were aging in each cask.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that the 42% one, Mark? Just off the top, ABV?
This is
That's
Lower.
what I took my notes from, so I wasn't sure.
43%.
Yeah.
Oh, so it might be similarly different. It might be, we've had a couple bottles run through. So last time I had it, the bottle that's currently up on our bar has like maybe a quarter ounce in
Plantation
it. so-
Island, single island bottlings have included vintage stuff from Trinidad, Barbados,
Mhm.
Peru, Panama, Fiji, Australia, a number of interesting things. And Maison Front is a big house. They make a lot of cognac. They make great gin in Citadel. They make a curacao, and they have a lot of spending power. And they're able to source really, really great product from all the islands, and then
Yeah.
finish them in whatever cask they deem necessary. And they're
This smells
Maison Front,
like
like Campari, like Diageo, like it's just the fact that they span so wide means that they can bring influences from so many other things at
Yep.
the same time too, which I find fascinating.
Yep, their bottlings are cool.
Butterscotch.
We don't get a lot of them. We get, 1 or 3 bottles of everything that gets released. But if you're into sipping rum, definitely come in and try some of their stuff, or find it at your store, because it's very cool. And it's these releases. I think you made the reference earlier to Compass Box. These are starting to feel like, along with Foursquare, the Compass Box of rums.
It's for rum nerds. Yeah,
Yep.
Foursquare is a good one, but they don't produce out of Jamaica.
This is all like
They're all Barbados.
yeah.
the nose on this
We'll
is
get
all
there.
like
Yeah.
butterscotch and treacle, as some would say.
That's
It
that's
does
one of
smell
my
like
favorites.
golden syrup to me.
But also, there's a really nice like woody note to it on the nose that I think you get from the extra aging.
Yeah, that's
cognac
crazy.
barrels.
I just
Yeah.
got that.
Ooh, it's super.
Yeah,
So
that's
the
crazy.
back of the
You guys
nose
haven't had a
dries
sip yet,
out
but
Like a
that's
rick
woodiness.
house would.
Yeah, yeah.
Ooh. I love the Rick House reference. We just came back from Kentucky.
We did come back from Kentucky. Yeah.
Stay tuned for Elijah Craig.
Stay
Barrel proof.
tuned. For
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I didn't tell people what it was. Boom! Spoiler alert.
I told
Most
everybody at the
most
bar.
people
Susan.
know.
Okay, good. I was gonna say I've been talking to people about it at the bar for the last 4 weeks. So,
No, and on social media, I didn't put what it's about, but it'll probably know this week.
all right, spoiler alert for
So
those
comparing
who
it
don't
to
know.
the two that we tried before, this has got a lot more lift. It's
Yes, for
very,
sure,
very mellow
yeah.
on the mid palate. It lifts up a lot. It's got a brightness to it. It's playful. It's very, very easy to drink.
I get a lot of the leather and oil notes after having tasted the first sip of it.
Mhm.
It's still really, really light and beautiful at the same time.
Yeah, it's great. And this is an extremely accessible Jamaican rum to get into. If you're new to Jamaican rum or aren't sure how to approach it, if you can find some of this is a great way
Yeah.
to start.
And
And
if you
also-
like cognac too, it's
Yeah.
Yeah,
Real
well, it's
great
that
rum.
that wrapped vanilla, like brandy style finish from the
Yeah.
barrel is
Yeah.
here too.
Because it
Good way to
doesn't have
phrase
like you're right, it doesn't have like a weighty, like sugary finish.
No.
It dries out really
Right,
beautifully.
and that's what cognac does.
Yeah.
I love it.
Me too.
All right, next one I have on our list.
I feel like
Oh.
the first three we've been noodling around on a beach with an acoustic guitar, like a Jack Johnson song, and now these next two are just gonna be shredders, man. These next two rums are big rums.
we
So-
went from Wonderwall to Through the Fire and Flames.
Wonderful.
Sometimes, oh, sorry for the tail end of that really high pitched laugh.
I didn't even hear it
The
at all.
Watch Jonathan Cole like in the editing and just be like, hey, really deep.
so I randomly put these in alphabetical order. It's not random; it's completely structured. But I put them in alphabetical order. They happen
So
to
completely
be
opposite of what you just said.
the only one that's out of place.
Everything as it should be. Everything the way it must be.
Called Nolan. The only one that's out of place proof wise is Dr. Bird. So if you switch Dr. Bird in Plantation Jamaica around, they'd be
You'd
in
go up
proof
in proof,
order.
yeah.
So your next one is Smith and Cross. It's 57% ABV or alcohol by volume, which
Our
makes
sweet
it
baby Smith and
114.
Cross.
She a big old girl.
Yeah, she is.
This is produced, like I said very briefly earlier. It's produced by the Hampton Estate brand. It's 100% Jamaican pot still, high ester rum, one of the heaviest pot still rums available on the market, and it's meant to be reminiscent of the 19th century style. So they're going back and kind of taking those old, not necessarily mash bills, but yeah, the production style.
Right.
A
If
beautiful
you
label.
read the Wondrich book, or you're going to read the Wondrich book based on our podcast, or you've just heard about David Wondrich and you want to read his stuff, in Imbibe, he is trying his best to tell you how to make these old recipes as
True
as
to-
Jerry Thomas
yeah.
would have made them.
Classic form.
And one of the terms that he uses over and over and over again is pirate rum. And what he means is the style of rum that was available then.
yeah,
Much more aggressive, much more broad-shouldered.
they're using wild yeast in the fermentation,
Yeah.
which we recently got an Ardbeg that uses wild fermentation and definitely brings a
Stuff is
lot of
nuts.
really weird and interesting
Yeah.
funkiness.
Fermentation.
Yeah, Ardbeg, thanks for fermentation. It's the weirdest thing I've tasted all year, and it's wonderful.
It's really interesting.
That's a front runner already for whiskey of the year, and it's only March.
Yeah, the
But-
Dunder. Oh, sorry.
No, sorry. If you're looking to do the pirate rum cocktails according to Wondrich, this is the one to use.
That's definitely the
Yeah,
one.
go
to
get
use.
Smith and
Yeah.
Cross tomorrow and use that.
Why is it pirate rum? Well, it's wild fermented.
Fermented.
Fermented. I have a degree. The
I have
Dunder.
none.
Your mom went to college.
The Dunder used in the
Napoleon.
process is open air concentrated, so it actually produces a ton more funk because of it. And this thick rum is referred to as Wedderburn.
Thick with two C's, yeah?
Thick with two C's. Thick is referred to as Wedderburn. It's aged for 6 months and blended in roughly equal parts to a more medium bodied, which they call plumber rum. And aged again for 18 months to 3 years in ex-bourbon barrels. So you're going to get a ton of vanilla and a little bit of citrus.
Your
caramely spice
face
too.
fully after you smell that, you're just like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I do. I
It's
do. I
just like
approve.
so natural. You're just like, yeah.
I approve. I discovered
Comrade
this.
Wedderburn, right on the bottle.
So this is part of the House Alpins portfolio. So I discovered this. Oh my God, maybe 15 years ago, because when the Bartenders Guild first got their chapter going in Michigan, I think House Alpins was one of the first like groups that we had come out to do
Oh, nice.
like an educational tasting, and they had everything. I mean, it was nuts too. It was at the Sugar House. And they just had everything on the bar.
Yeah.
And they gave a little speech about all of it. And it was just like, go around and pour
All
whatever
right,
you want.
have
So,
fun.
you know, there's people goofing around with vermouth. And then they had all this stuff at the end. And we're drinking Banal. And we're drinking all this great Amaro and Nux Alpina and like all this great
Nuts.
product. And I hit Smith and Cross at the end. And then I just kind of stayed at that
You
end of the
just kept
bar.
with Smith
You know,
Cross,
and
but-
eventually I had to go across the street to Mercury and get a burger because I really needed
Yeah,
some
you're
food.
not driving anywhere quick after
Right.
that.
No, but I was enamored by it because of just the pure balance and power that it has.
It's intense. Like,
Yeah.
But it's like one of those intense sessions that afterwards you're just like, all right, yeah, I like that.
So
I like
we
that a
see
lot.
this all the time with Scotch drinkers or bourbon drinkers who drink Scotch, right? They are coming in here drinking all manner of super overproof cast strength bourbon at 125 proof or what
But
have
still
you.
Sweetie boys.
Very, very sugary, very sweet. And then they drink some sort of like 90 proof peated Scotch. Like, oh my God, you know, they don't want
Right.
it.
You're
Yeah.
like, "Just blow me out.
And
man."
it's not because just of the peat, but it's because of barley and peated whiskey, and it's
Yeah,
less
barley to
sweetness.
corn or corn to barley for some people is very hard.
Right,
bridge
so they
to
drink it,
gap.
they're like, fit, I don't
Yeah.
like it. But
Fig.
it's because not just of peat or proof differential, it's all of that wrapped into one thing, and it's very, very alien when they taste it. Smith and Cross can be like that because it's Jamaican style, it's esters, it's yeast, it's acidity, and it's the proof.
And it's that difference between that Wedderburn, that wild fermentation, all those things that we just said, versus the plumber rum. So those are old terms to describe basically rum that's produced now is plumber style or closer to a plumber style of rum. And Smith and Cross is like,
no,
sucks to that. I'm gonna at least blend it in with some Wedderburn.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys. Have you ever smelled mink oil?
Like, have I ever killed a mink and squeezed its oil out of it and then smelt it?
If that's the only way you've come across it.
Is there any other way?
Mink oil you can find in like a lot of older style perfumes where it's like you just need a little drop and you kind of rub it through and it's viscous. I smell mink oil and taste it a lot too, or oily kind of rich perfumey points. Camphor is another one that
Booms, you never cease to amaze me.
I know, it's amazing. I love that reference.
You're such a majestic creature.
Yeah.
But like it's also nutty. Like I taste nutty, chestnutty almost.
Yeah, and rich, dank fruit, and it's got this kind of like viscous power on the back end that's really, really interesting. It sticks around forever.
Oh yeah.
The alcohol plays like just aggressive and spicy.
My throat is so warm. I feel like I just had a toddy. But
yeah, this is a hell of a cocktail rum, and if you can drink it on its own, then if you can cultivate a way to get your palate around drinking it on its own, it's very rewarding.
Yeah,
but you don't need much of it.
Yeah,
it's extremely powerful.
As a quick recap too, so Smith and Cross's Navy rum, we talked about this before.
Yeah.
Navy strength refers to the 57% ABV or 114 proof stipulated as a requirement for all spirits to be carried on the British Royal Navy ships. If it gets on the gunpowder, it'll still light versus just Navy rum. So like there's some rums that are called Navy rum because they were identified as a supplier to the British Royal Navy.
Pussers.
So reading this.
Right.
So but like normal pussers, you don't want. If you want the Navy pussers, you want what they call gunpowder proof. Yeah.
My thought about this was, why would they want a rum that was flammable on the ship?
They want to drink their rum.
And if they spill something, they still might want to defend themselves.
But don't you feel like you would want a lower proof rum that wouldn't set on fire?
No, they're not worried about. They're not worried about exploding their ship. They're worried about fighting the alternate.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, because all of a sudden
they had their priorities.
Yeah. Okay. You've heard about the pirates. You've heard about the pirate captain.
Just put it out in a barrel.
You've heard about the pirate captain in his red shirt and his brown pants, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Maybe we'll tell the joke at the end, and Jonathan can use it. But
so here, look it up.
For real, like you're drinking, you're hanging out. All of a sudden, whoa, pirates!
Another ship comes about.
We need to use our weapons.
Yeah.
You can't have. If Angus or Nigel spilled rum on the gunpowder, you need to be able to still light it.
You're done.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. Also, too, talking about Smith and Cross, if you watched, what was it, our last, maybe 2 episodes ago when we did the Negroni at the end,
the Kingston
there was
Negroni.
a variation called a Kingston
That's a
Negroni.
good
Which
drink.
It is really good.
I've messed around with a couple different rums and
It's
vermouths
so
for it,
good.
and I found that really the one and only best way to make it, in my opinion, is Smith and Cross and Carpano Antica.
Because that's a softer
older,
vermouth.
Yep.
Okay.
So you swap in the Smith and Cross instead of the gin, and Carpano you keep the same. But yeah, it's a fun little riff on the Negroni, I think.
All right, let's wrap it up with some pure Jamaican
Woo!
lightning.
Woo!
I'm so excited to work after this podcast. I have taken sips out of all of them about a quarter ounce each.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
And
you can take
we-
a nap
we
or have a
didn't-
little pad thai or something.
I'm gonna go walk the dog.
We
Okay.
didn't think ahead and get a dump tin, so whatever we've poured,
Yeah,
we've
you
had
guys
to
have
drink.
to drink it all.
So,
I mean,
it's a tough job, but
I've been keeping it together. This is the first rum episode that I didn't drink a zombie.
Oh yeah, you drank the
That's
zombie
very
in
true.
both the previous
Yeah.
episodes. All right,
your eyes still have that look about them.
it's crazy.
Okay.
Let's talk
Ray and
about
Nephew.
Ray and Nephew.
Also owned by Campari.
Also owned by Campari.
Yeah.
Yep, and still also in Nassau.
Yep.
Ray
at
and
the same Appleton Estate.
This is the only unaged rum that we have in our lineup right now.
Excuse me, that's the New Yarmouth distillery,
New Yarmouth.
but they're both located in that same valley. So it is 63% ABV, so that is 126
26 for
proof.
those playing at home.
So it gets the moniker overproof
Guaranteed full
instead
strength.
of Navy.
Guaranteed full strength. Yeah.
Yeah. So It's owned by the Campari Group, made at New Yarmouth in Nassau Valley. Its founder is a Scotsman named Charles John Ray. He emigrated to Jamaica in the early 1800s, opened the Shakespeare Tavern in 1825, and it was in Kensington. His rum at the tavern became so popular that he started mass producing it, with basically other people who were coming to the bar thought it was great and was just decided to be an investor, if you will.
Imagine that back in the day. Like, I love this so much.
I will give you money so you make
give you
more?
money so
Yeah.
you can put it into the world.
Yeah. His nephew also. So
His
his
nephew
that's-
still who's unnamed. This poor kid.
No, it's Charles James Ward.
Oh well, it's not Ray and Chuck.
No, it's Charles John Ray and his nephew Charles James Ward.
Fine.
Touche.
That's why it's called Ray and Nephew. It's still being produced in Jamaica today.
Every time I do a shot of Ray and nephew from the rest of my life, I'm just
Really?
going to say to Chuck.
So besides being drunk, it's also used as a medicine, hair tonic, and is used in many religious ceremonies in Jamaica.
Oh, good.
It holds the
100%.
traditional colors of Jamaica, so that bright yellow and the dark green.
Yeah, when I first started working here and I saw this label, my thought was
It's
this
super
is-
cheap.
I thought it was super cheap
Yep, it is.
booze, but then I tasted it. I was like,
'Cause it looks
oh,
like
it's very
yellow
affordable,
corn
right.
label style.
Yeah. So the Ray and nephew label hasn't changed ever.
It's just
It
classic.
seems like
It's
it's
been
very
that way.
it's a very 60s 70s label. It's bright yellow and a little bit green. It's 126 proof. It's extremely affordable, and this stuff will absolutely change the dynamic of a cocktail, even down to the quarter ounce.
yeah.
Yeah.
It is lightning, and it's got a ton of Jamaican character, yet no barrel aging.
Correct. So it's unlike some white rums that are filtered through charcoal to remove its color. It's not cask aged, which makes it naturally clear and stuff.
Turn me on, dead man.
It's almost like coming right off the pot. It's probably distilled down a little
I
bit.
want less than
but-
that.
Or
That's
excuse me,
good.
diluted down a little bit. It's also much more flavorful, has greater complexity than your average white rum. Fair. It's dry and grassy. I taste violets. When I taste this rum, I get violets, which is a very interesting flavor to me, while still tasting fruity. So banana, black currant. It's a little more close
There
to
is
like a Martinique rum or a cachaça.
I find it.
Yeah.
I found the religious ceremony thing interesting because it is so strong, and it does have the ability that it can be set aflame.
Oh yeah.
I
didn't delve any deeper. Did you?
I did not know, but
Oh,
just
picturing
the
it.
very idea of what this spirit is and how it could be used is,
Mhm.
is kind of fascinating. Like I would love to go into a history of just how Ray and nephew was used in that particular way.
I'm not gonna lie. If you ever had the ability to do it and wanted to do a tour in Jamaica,
That'd be so
a
cool.
rum tour in
Let's go.
Jamaica,
Yeah.
John Ellis will do the background into the weird, cool campfire rituals that you guys go to at the same time.
It's fascinating stuff, and I have been extremely interested in Ray and nephew because its possibilities are endless, because it can really lift or change a cocktail dramatically, but it's also so very dangerous in terms of how
Oh,
strong,
yeah.
how strong
But
it
it's
is.
so subtle drinking it by itself. Like
Yep.
flavor wise. Very
Yeah.
elegant.
Well, that's the thing, right? It's super strong, but it doesn't always drink that
No,
way in
yeah,
a cocktail, and it can make things
Thus
very,
the-
very interesting.
Thus
Yeah.
the rum train.
It's
Yeah.
just
The
so
cruel
hot.
and fickle mistress.
Yeah.
If you want to sneaky drink something strong, just be like, no, I don't. I'm just having an easy night. I'm just drinking the clear stuff.
Hey,
I'll have a Ray and nephew daiquiri.
Ray
Or you
and
could
nephew
do,
mojitos, baby.
Oh my god, that would be one hell of a mojito. I've never done that.
Let's do it. We'll do it on Saturday.
this is gonna lead a little bit into my fun fact. So ready, set, fun fact.
Fun fact.
Ray and Ting is the #1 ordered drink in Jamaica, and it is a combination of Ray and Nephew rum as a highball with Ting grapefruit soda.
I've never had Ting grapefruit soda, but I immediately want a case right now.
We have some Doritos.
Is it
downstairs.
similar to
But is it
Tang?
similar to Doritos?
It's gonna be close enough to taste test it for now until we get some Ting.
Done and done. Ray and nephew. I actually have Ray and nephew shoes.
I have a Ray and
I have
Nephew
Ray and
jacket.
nephew boaters. I have the same jacket.
I have
Yeah.
a Ray and nephew shirt.
Yeah, well, my boaters are awesome. They're great.
That's
You
true.
know
I
what,
want Ray and Nephew
Polly?
boaters. Are they yellow?
Been a
Every
really
time
good run. I'm
yellow
gonna-
and green. Every time I wear them in public, Andrew's just like, ugh. Meanwhile, Peggy's like, really cool shoes, Dad.
Peggy wants those when
She
she's
does.
big enough.
She
to wear
100%
them.
does. Well, Ray and nephew, luckily for you guys listening who might be interested in our enthusiasm, and it is a very affordable product. It's low 20s by the bottle. It's available everywhere,
Very accessible.
mostly because I think a lot of people don't buy it because they're truly scared of it.
Yeah.
Like, what in
mean,
God's name is this stuff
If you don't know
for?
Or
anything
they buy
about it,
it-
you see 120 something proof rum on
Right.
the shelf. You're like, "Ugh."
This stuff is, however, not just for making bad decisions with. It's nuanced. It's gorgeous in flavor and is ultimately kind of silky on the palate, even though it is very strong.
Yeah.
It's delicious.
Yeah. But I think we're nearing up on that time.
Yeah,
The
is there
rum
anything
train,
else you
the
want
rum
to,
train to Jamaica is pulling into the station.
Yes. It
I'm
looks
gonna
like
pop-
Booms has something
Yeah, I was
she
gonna
wants to bring
say
up real quick.
we've talked about this book before, but this is the first time we've had it on camera. So
Very
And a
problematic
Bottle of
book.
Rum by Wayne Curtis. It's interesting. It's got things that need to probably be updated, even though
He's a
says
good
revised and
researcher, but he
updated.
is not necessarily a good writer, in my opinion.
But some of the
And a
information
bottle
there
of
was
rum.
interesting to me.
Yeah,
and so I'll
I
still
half
recommend it.
loved that book and half hated it when I read it the last time, and I'm going to have to read it again. But I became very frustrated with how easily he shrugged off certain aspects
Yeah,
of
he should have
culture
gone
and
deeper.
cocktails.
Yeah,
He's
But-
very much he's a history guy, not a
I'm
drinks
fine.
guy.
give it a go. And then this is sorry, microphone. This is the one that we've talked about a lot before too, but again, I didn't have it when we had it. So
That's your
Rum, the
101 book.
Manual.
That's the first book you buy.
by David Broom. Dave, Broom has gin, rum, and whiskey as a trifecta, as a set. I assume he's working on agave and the other things at this moment.
He's UK and doesn't care about
Yeah,
agave. You never
maybe
know.
that's-
Another one to buy, which we don't have up here, is the Smuggler's Cove book out of San Francisco.
that's-
This is more of a cocktail-centric book. It's from the perspective of people who own a bar and do tiki cocktails, but just the use and application of Jamaican rum that's throughout that book is invaluable.
I'm a huge fan of it. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a great.
10 out
Book.
of 10 would recommend.
So I think we're going to wrap it up. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're gonna wrap it up.
Be sure to check out all of our social medias on Facebook. We're the Relief and Resource Company. Instagram, Relief and Resource Co. Twitter is Relief_Resource.
Yep.
And yeah.
And stay tuned for our next episode where we tackle the mystical and wonderful chartreuse.
Ooh,
Monks.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers, guys.
So pirate captain, he's extremely respected. He's on the deck. He's hanging out. It's been weeks of peace.
Oh, yeah.
And all of a sudden, he sees a ship on the horizon. He identifies them as an enemy, and he says, "Arr," to his first mate, "Go get me a red shirt." He goes and gets his red shirt. He prepares for battle. They battle. Everything is fine. They're drinking rum, campfire. Everything's great. They've plundered.
They have plundered
The
their
other
decks.
ship. There's lots of booty.
Plundered and pillaged.
Yep, pillaged, yes. And so another 2 weeks go by, and 2 ships are on the horizon. And the captain goes, "Arr, get me a red shirt." And they battle, and they win again. And that night, the first mate asks him, "Sir, why, whenever we're about to go into battle, do you ask for your red shirt?" He says, "I'll tell you. For if I'm cut, none of me mates will see me bleeding." And his first mate says,
No
"Wow,
fight on,
that's
yeah.
yeah, exactly." He's like, "Oh, this is amazing." He gains a new respect for his captain. And so, a couple weeks later, 5 ships on the horizon, and the captain, calm as ever, calls his first mate. And his first mate says, "Do you want your red shirt?" And he says, "No, bring me brown pants."
So that if his,
Gah! Yeah.
his crew see him shit himself,
Poop
keep
jokes.
fighting. Or
Me
I
too.
can if I start with one and then wait quite a while.
We're
and then do the
vaping.
other.
We're vaping. We're procrastinating.
I
We're
don't vape.
master debating. That goddamn bitch,
That
Carol
one.
Baskin.